for being here at 118 Elliott Street in downtown Brattleboro. It's great to be down here. Brattleboro and Windham County Democrats are so strong, and we really need that help from all of you. I'm Jim Condos, Secretary of State, and my goal is to make sure we have free and fair elections. I work hard to try to make it easy for people to vote, to register. We now have same-day voter registration, we have automatic voter registration, we have online voter registration, and it is, this year we set a record, actually just in the last week, for the number of registered voters in the state of Vermont. We're now at about 482,000. The previous high in 2016 was 470,000, so we're gaining. And it's your vote is your voice, and it is so important to get out and vote. You can vote early as 45 days ahead of time. But right now, as of today, we have 11 days until Election Day. And I urge every citizen down here in Brattleboro and Windham County to get out and vote. It's your right, it's your voice. It's important to support good Democrats. Thank you. Perfect timing.
How you doing? I'm David Zuckerman, Lieutenant Governor of Vermont, down here in Brattleboro at this great event. An open house for anybody who wants to meet those of us who are running for office locally, countywide, and statewide. It's great to be joined by Peter Welch today, Secretary of Condos, as well as local folks like Sara Coffey and Kornheiser, and Emily Long, so many others. And I just want to say it's great to be down in the southeast corner of the state. I've done a lot of work down here over the years on GMOs, marriage equality, raising the minimum wage, economic development, paid family leave. The list is long, but really the way we get those things accomplished in Montpelier is through the citizens getting involved in the process, which is what I've worked on for almost 20 years as a representative, senator, and now lieutenant governor. So I've been trying to travel the state, not only during campaign season, but frankly year-round, to meet with people from elementary school up to seniors in senior centers, Rotaries and others, to say the way that we make our state better on the policy side is for people to engage with their legislators and help tell them what you want. Folks sometimes assume that legislators are all there already, and they're not. They really need your input. And so, again, as Lieutenant Governor, that's what I would urge you to do. And in particular, in these next 10 days or 6 days, whenever this is published, not only vote, but in particular, if you're feeling like we're living in a political nightmare, not only from the policy perspective coming out of Washington, but really the respect for democracy and the institution of democracy, here's my ask. I'm asking everybody out there to think about anybody you know in the 18 to 40-year-old demographic to please find them, pick up the phone, call your friends, call the relatives of anybody you know and ask them what's important to them, and get those 18 to 35 or 40-year-old folks to vote. Because here's the deal. If that demographic votes in the same numbers as the rest of us, the nightmare is over, and it will never happen again if people in that age group vote like we do. Not just for who we vote for, but just come out and vote. So that's my beg. It's not even about me. It's about our democracy. It's about our civil discourse. And I thank you for your time.
You're all right. Well, thanks for us. It's really great to be here, and thanks BCTV for this. We're here tonight to really build community and build momentum for the upcoming election. I'm Sara Coffey. I'm from Guilford, and I'm running for the Windham 1 seat to represent Virgina and Guilford. And I'm really excited. It's my first time running, and I'm really excited at how we're building bridges in our communities and how people are coming together, and I'm very optimistic about this election and how things are coming together. And I'm running because as a mother and a volunteer and a business owner and a dedicated community member, I feel like we have so much in common, and that we are building bridges to find affordable housing, bring better paying jobs to Southern Vermont, and strengthen our schools. So I'm excited to be here and be part of this enthusiasm and building energy for getting out the vote. So thank you so much.
Hey, it's great to be in Brattleboro. We've got 10 days until the election. Vote. That's the most important thing. Whatever you believe, express it by voting. And this is a big, big election. It's the opportunity for our country to send a message to Washington that they want a mid-course correction. And I certainly am in favor of a mid-course correction. We've got to get things going that start working for everyday people and not just for folks who are well-heeled and on top. So get out there and vote, and let's make America work for everybody. We're all in it together.
Hi, my name is John Gannon. I'm a state rep representing Halifax, Windham, and Wilmington in Windham 6, which is in Windham County. I'm glad to be here tonight. It's very exciting. I think it's very important that we elect Democrats up and down the ticket. We need to stop the Republican attack on public schools. The latest attack has been on pensions. Just this morning in Vermont Digger, there was an article about taking away teachers' pensions, moving them into a 401k, and that's not acceptable. We need to make sure that our teachers and our state employees get pensions, and that we stop the Republican attack on public schools. Stop schools being forced to merge, schools being forced to close, especially rural schools. We need to fix the funding system for our education system. I think that's really important. And I think that's what Democrats will do if they're elected to state offices. And I really hope we get the vote out and get a lot of people to vote, because I think there are very dramatic differences between what the Republicans are offering and what the Democrats are offering. So I hope everyone will get out and vote for Democrats. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you to Russ, BCTV, for being here tonight in this beautiful space. It's fun for me to look around and remember that when I first moved to Brattleboro, this was a laundromat, and I did my laundry here with my children, and now it's been repurposed as this beautiful art space. So I'm Becca Balint, and I represent Windham County. I live here in Brattleboro with my spouse and 2 children. I'm running for my 3rd term in the Senate, and I currently serve as the Majority Leader in the Senate. I love my job because I get so much inspiration from my neighbors. People always say, how can you be in politics right now? It's such a sad, hard time to be in politics. And I always say, it's my neighbors who give me hope, spirit, and courage to keep fighting on their behalf. And I'm delighted to serve Windham County and to keep pushing ahead with our progressive agenda here.
So many folks who have gathered have stepped up in so many different ways in the lead up to tonight. We've had activists focusing on certain causes. We have had politicians here and working for months and years to build a Vermont that can thrive. And tonight we're going to have the opportunity to hear from folks all the way up and down the ticket. And even more importantly, an opportunity for all of you to speak to each of the people who are here tonight. One-on-one, in small groups, to read our materials, to learn what a high bailiff says, and I'm sorry if there's a high bailiff here tonight. We always use you as the example of what no one knows about. So tonight we're going to hear from each speaker, and then afterwards we're going to have time to mingle. It's not going to be a long series of speeches, because the opportunity here is for you to talk to each other and for you to talk to your politicians. So it is my great pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker, Congressman Peter Welch.
Thank you. Who's in charge of the food? That was really good. That was really good. So I know the drill here, in short, so I'm going to set the standard and try to be brief. But first of all, I want to thank everybody in Windham County, everybody here in Brattleboro for showing up. And I was talking to some folks, and we're all sort of beleaguered with what is going on and what's happened to our country. And I'll tell you, we need solidarity we need to be together more than ever to remind ourselves that our goals and aspirations to be in this together really, really matter. I just want to say one thing. We don't need to talk about Trump now. I'm actually quite serious about this, because everybody knows. There's nothing I can tell you that you don't know. What we have to do is concentrate on why it is we're here, why it is we believe in politics. And this is going to be the big challenge if the Democrats become the majority in the House of Representatives, which is absolutely essential for the future of this country. But what we do if we get that is what is really going to be important. Because if the Democrats do get the House, then we can be a brake on Trump, and we have to stand up for the things we care about. We have to have some humility, because if we do, it's because every 2 years, the Constitution gives the people of this country the opportunity to send Washington a message that it's time for a mid-course correction. And it's not just Vermont, it's Iowa, it's Oklahoma, it's California, it's everywhere where people are going to be showing up and saying it's time for a mid-course correction. If we win in the House, when we win, we've got to be humble about it. And I'm speaking about the House Democrats. Because it's not a vindication of us, it's a repudiation of Trump. Yeah. And what it will mean is not that we were embraced. It will mean that we have been given the opportunity by how we govern to earn the trust of the people of this country. And we're going to earn the trust by focusing on issues that are good for people, whether they're in blue states or red states. I mean, we bring down the cost of prescription drugs. That's good whether you live in Oklahoma, red state, or you live here in Vermont. We have an infrastructure bill where we get broadband out to all our rural communities across the country. That's good for everybody. We focus on real things that are going to make a real difference for people. And that's healthcare, it's jobs, it's our infrastructure, and it is with an approach where we acknowledge that the point of politics is for us to be in it together. And what we're living through right now in the U.S. Congress is a winner-take-all mentality, where it's winners and losers. And that is not who we are. It's not how we get to the best place we need to be. So I am incredibly excited about what's going to happen on Election Day. But what it will mean is we will be given an opportunity to do the work to help bring this country together and stand up for the basic democratic proposition that we are all in it together, and it's not a red state, blue state deal. It's everybody is entitled to have opportunity in this country regardless of their race, their religion, their gender. It doesn't matter. We are all in it together. So let's get out and win. We've got to work. Thank you very much.
So this is a different kind of thing, everyone. Now you talk to each other, or to the congressman, or to the other politicians here. We're going to take a nice break before we hear from someone again.
Up to her and held up my hand. She showed me and said, "You're my hero." That's exactly the message we need.
representative from Vernon Guilford, Sara Coffey.
Oh my God, this energy is amazing in here. I'm Sara Coffey. I'm running for the Windham 1 seat. I live in Guilford. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Talk right into it like this. Okay. So this is great. We were, when Betty Fry started thinking about this event, she really envisioned this as being a way for our community to come together. And as some of you might know, the Windham 1 seat has been held by Republicans for 18 years. And so some people thought it was impossible for a Democrat to hold on to that seat because the Republicans there were really organized and they got out and voted. So my approach to this campaign has been about building community, and I think that's what this event is all about as well. And it's been, when I first considered running for this seat, you know, I was feeling like a lot of people pretty distraught after the 2016 election. And as a mother of 2 teenagers, I really didn't know what to do. And I've gotten to know Windham County through the work that I've done with Vermont Performance Lab, and I've just seen, you know, how the arts, how we can pull people together. And when somebody asked me if I'd consider running, I thought, why me? Why me? But I realized, like, if we don't step forward and be bold and do things that we've never done before, what's left? So the way I've been running this race, and people seem to be excited about it, and I'm cautiously optimistic. But really, I feel like I'm riding on the wave of all of the energy that's in this room and that's in these communities. And we have 60 volunteers. I've done the Emerge program in Vermont. I have this amazing sisterhood of women. Let's give a shout out to Emerge. And really, I started to go, you know, I started to go to the community that I don't know, because I love Guilford. In Guilford, we have something so special. In Guilford, we have hippies, we have 11th generation farmers, we have newcomers, old timers, and we know how to come together as a community. And I feel like that is the spirit of my campaign. And that's the spirit that I took over to Vernon, the town that I didn't know so well. And what's been really exciting is that there are a lot of Republicans in Vernon who are excited about my race. Because, as Congressman Welch was saying, you know, this isn't about us and them. It's like our local issues connect us. And by having conversations one-on-one and neighbor to neighbor, that's how we're gonna do this. And so I really am, I don't have much more to say. I would say tonight, I hope that you'll take in all of these, you know, step up, volunteer, contribute. There are lots of ways to be involved. And this summer, when I was hearing some of the worst news, you know, I would go out door knocking, and I would go out, and once I would come back every night being so full of hope. Emily and I talked a lot about this this summer. And we'd come back, and it would just be, you know, we have so much more in common. There's so much that connects us. Our local issues connect us. People want to have access. They want to make a living wage. They want to be able to have an affordable house to live in. They want to have better health care. And they want to be able to have strong and vibrant schools. And we want to have a strong economy. So really, our local issues connect us. And I really think now, more than ever, we need to be embracing everybody. The Democrats know how to do this, right? We build the big tent and invite people in. So I'm happy to be inside this tent with all of you tonight. Thanks for coming out today.
Thanks, Sarah. I want to remind everyone the Vermont Democratic Party sign-up sheet is right back there. There's a canvas starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. meeting downtown. Rights and Democracy is holding another canvas first thing in the morning tomorrow. You can sign up over here on the left. And we have Indivisible, ACLU, Vermont Workers Center, Brattleboro Solidarity. Everyone's in one line, and so happy happy to see all these people here today in 350 with their amazing, I mean, who can table better than 350? No one. Look at those signs. So please go sign up, jump into the campaign, and the route is right there with Esler. I'm sorry, Esler. And if you want a lawn sign, we have them right here. Take them home. They're yours. I don't want to put them back in my truck. Governor David Zuckerman. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I really do appreciate it. And it's wonderful to be here, and what an amazing crowd. You all have done a great job organizing and coming out. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here for just a moment. Now, I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. First, just in case those of you who don't know me, I'm an organic vegetable farmer, pork and chicken farmer, and I also happen to be your lieutenant governor. And I have had the pleasure of coming to Brattleboro for over 20 years to talk politics and policy, because as a representative from Burlington, I used to come down and meet with folks around GMOs in particular. This is one of the best organized areas on GMO interests, marriage equality, many of the social justice issues that we're still talking about today, universal health care, paid family leave, raise the minimum wage. You folks here in Windham County are the most progressive, that's a small p, just to be fair to everybody, counties in the country, okay? It's great leadership from you here. Now, what I'm going to do a little differently is that we just heard about the local nature of things, and that is so critical. Talking with our neighbors, recognizing where some of that anger and some of that hate comes from is from a place of pain and fear. And we have to recognize that when we're working with people that sometimes are shouting in our faces about things. And I have an incredible privilege. I'm a white, male, cis, economically stable person in a position of power. I can be patient with people that may otherwise create incredible fear or danger or risk to a woman or a person of color or a person with a different ability or different sexual orientation or gender. Those of us in any role that we have to take the role we have in the place we can, and it's different for everybody in this room, to work towards rational and reasonable conversations with those who will have them. And my metaphor is this: when you walk up to someone and you meet them, and you reach out and shake their hand, if you grab it and you yank, they're probably not going to want to come with you, and they're going to dig in their heels. But if you sit down on a park bench with them and talk for a little bit about how much we all love our families, how much we all want safety and security in our communities, and we want decent paying jobs in our communities, and then you talk about what a nice view it is over there, let's get up and take a walk together, they're probably going to get up and go for a walk with you. And that is the value and the community spirit that we have in Vermont. And I'll go back to the farmer bit for 1 second, which is that when you're farming, you plant a seed, and you never know the weather or anything else that's going to impact your end result, but you're thinking long-term for the result that you're aiming for. Sometimes we have to plant seeds and not expect to bear the fruit the day after you plant the seed. Okay? Think long ball. And my closing is going to be this. Today, my campaign email said, this is not a request for money, although I'm going to ask you all for money. So you can take an envelope back there. I'm way outgunned on the money race this year, by the way. But it said, this is not an ask for money. The reality is, the views in this room are the vast majority of the views in this country. The nightmare we're all living through right now can be changed on November 6th all across this country if one thing happens. If people who are aged 18 to 40 vote in the same numbers as those of us who are older than 40, the nightmare will be over. And so my ask in my email today was to each and every person in this room over these next 10 or whatever days are left. Think about family members, think about workers, co-workers, whoever you know that has relations or people in that age demographic, and call them up and sit on that bench with them and ask them what's important to them, explain why what's important to them will be impacted by this election, I don't care where they live in this country, and get them to vote. And if we do that across this country, the nightmare is over, and Peter Welch has a majority, and maybe even Patrick Leahy and Brandon. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to be doubling us up here now. So I am Emily Long. I'm from Newfane. And I am so excited to be here tonight. I cannot believe this turnout. We do it right in Windham County. I'm telling you, we do it right. Thank you all for being here. I am running for re-election. I represent the towns of Marlborough, Newfane, and Townsend. So, yeah. I also wanted to let you know that I'm here representing the House leadership team. So I'm the deputy whip in the House, and Tristan Tolino, who's your representative from Brattleboro, would love to have been here today, but he has a meeting, couldn't make it, so I'm the leadership team person. And in that role I have in the leadership team, I've spent a lot of time looking around Vermont and seeing the candidates we have running, trying to find people to help out, making fundraising calls, doing an awful lot of work for our Democratic Party. And we have some fantastic people running in this state right now. A lot of them right here in Windham County, some you're hearing from tonight. So I'm really thrilled about that piece of it, and it's really great to be able to actually get to meet all of them. You're going to hear another one coming right up behind me, it looks like. So I just wanted to say, again, thank you for being here. I also wanted to say, it's true what Representative Congressman Welch said earlier. We are all in this together. It takes every single one of us. And when I look around this room, I assume that every one of you have already voted. But if you have not voted, I'm pretty sure that you're going to vote for some great candidates from our party. But I will also say that your job isn't done. Your job isn't done. We need you to get out there and bring all your neighbors and everyone else to vote, because that's what it's going to take to make the changes that we need to make in this state and frankly in this country. So I'm going to introduce Nader. Nader, you're up.
Thank you. So I'm Nader Hashim. I'm running for state representative for Windham 4, which covers Podley, Dummerston, and Westminster. And I can tell you that whenever you're planning an event, or whenever you turn up early to an event, there's always this little bit of nervousness, because you wonder, is anyone going to show up? But clearly, that is not a problem tonight, because this place is packed. So first and foremost, I want to thank all of you, all of the people who are out here tonight. The involvement and the participation that we are seeing here tonight, this is the heart of democracy right here. The conversations and the questions that are being asked and answered, that is how we move our society forward. That and voting. So speaking of voting, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that everyone in here, just about everyone in here, is registered to vote, right? Now I'm also going to go out on a limb and assume that everyone already has voted or is planning to vote in November, right? Yeah. Okay. Excellent, excellent. So with all that being said, the next step is to start bringing in our friends and our family and those coworkers who say they don't want to talk about politics. Those are the folks that we have to start talking to. These are the folks that we have to start registering to vote and make sure that they actually get to the polls in November as well. Now, I have limited time, but the last thing that I want to talk about real quick is holding on to hope. So if anyone in here is like me, you keep your cell phone pretty close to you. And when you wake up in the morning, at least this is what I do, I grab my phone and I check the news. Because the first thought in my head is, okay, what's the damage report today? And I know it's easy to get lost amidst all the negativity. It's easy to become angry or sad or frustrated, and I totally get that. But what we're seeing tonight is we're turning that into a positive energy, and we're turning that into a physical effort to get out there and get out the vote. So thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank the amazing people who put this whole event together. This is awesome. Thank you all.
Hi folks, this is great down here in Brattleboro, Windham County. I can't believe how crowded this room is. I want to thank Brattleboro Community TV for being here and taping this. My name is Jim Condos. I am your Secretary of State. And I want to talk a little bit about a four-letter word. Vote. It's important. It really, really is important. I had my debate today with my opponent who thinks that college students should not be allowed to vote. He thinks that we should get rid of early voting. Same-day voter registration, automatic voter registration. It's all to inflate the voter rolls. And I tell them that we have a state-of-the-art system that actually knows what it's doing and works with the town clerks, our hard-working town clerks, to make sure that we have as accurate a system as possible. Now, across this country, just this summer, I was elected by my peers to be the president of the National Association of Secretaries of State. That also means I have to deal with people like Brian Kemp in Georgia, Chris Kobach in Kansas. And I actually want to give a shout out to the ACLU in the lawsuit they had with Chris Kobach this summer. There was a point during that trial where the ACLU lawyer was asking questions, and the person on the stand said, well, we target people who have foreign-sounding names to remove them. So the ACLU lawyer kind of did an about-face and said, what would you say, and he gave a Mexican-sounding name and said, what would you say about a person with that name? And he said, we'd probably remove them from the voter rolls. And the ACLU lawyer said, right to his face in front of the judge, well, it might interest you to know that he is an appointed federal judge in this building. He got it wrong. We're fighting this all across the country. Since the founding of this country in the late 1700s, when only white male landowners were allowed to vote, there's been 10 or 11 times where the Constitution has either been amended or voting rights initiatives have passed, and it was always about expanding the right to vote. And then the Tea Party in 2010 came along. And in 2010, when the Tea Party won big, and again in 2012, it started. And they've been doing nothing but voter suppression ever since. Now we're fighting, and here in Vermont we're considered a leader. And I thank my staff, but I thank all of you for supporting me. I thank the legislature. Jeanette White, the chair of the committee that actually has to deal with this stuff. But it's really incredible the things that we have done in the last 8 years to make Vermont really a window, a bright spot in the country, and people are looking to us. We were the second state to implement automatic voter registration. We are one of 15 states, I think it is now, that has same-day voter registration.
Well done.
So even if the Russians are able to hack into our voter registration database, which I don't think they can, we've got pretty good defenses. But even if they did, one thing we have is first we back it up every day. So every night that voter registration database is backed up. So worst case, we just go back 24 hours and reset it. And we have same-day voter registration, so nobody's going to be denied. Nobody will be denied. We do not use exact match. That's what Georgia does. If someone has a hyphenated last name and they forget to put the hyphen in, sorry, you're out of luck. If they misspell your name, sorry, you're out of luck. We don't have that here. So we have a very good system. Our system actually will look to see if you're registered somewhere else in Vermont and then notify that town clerk that you've been registered in a new town. So we are doing our best to make sure that the voter rolls are accurate, that our votes are counted. We have paper ballots. We have post-election audits. We are doing all the right things here in Vermont. I've been fortunate this year. I was able to testify before Congress on 2 different times. In March, I testified before Senate Intelligence Committee, and then again in June, I testified before Senate Rules Committee. Both times to talk about cybersecurity and the things that we're doing. And when at one point, one of the panelists said, "Well, Jim Condos seems to know what he's talking about." And one of the senators, one from Jack Reed from Rhode Island, shouted out, "That's why he's here." So, thank you very much. Get out and vote.
Thank you. And can I add, it is the best functioning website in state government, which is no small feat. One thing I tell people when I'm trying to talk to them about voting is that it is easier and faster than buying a carton of milk. A lot of people in our community just don't know that. They think voting's not something for them. So we have the right, and now we need to get people to the action. We're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to hear from HALLQUIST.
So everybody, take home the Christine sign. Thank you.
That's our Jonathan. Okay.
Hi, I'm Terry Anderson. I'm the chair of the Vermont Democratic Party. I live up in Franklin County on the Canadian border, and it's great to be down in Brattleboro for this fantastic gathering of Democrats, progressives, of enthusiastic citizens to get ready for the election. Thank you to BCTV for putting this out so everyone can see it.
And I'm Maloy. I'm actually the political director of the LGBTQ Victory Fund, based in Washington, D.C. We're an organization that's dedicated to getting LGBTQ people into elected office. Right now, LGBT people only represent 0.01% of all elected offices in the United States of America. And we represent well more than 4.5% of the population. So we're looking this year, the year of the Rainbow Wave, to get more amazing LGBTQ candidates elected, including Vermont's own Christine HALLQUIST running for governor.
It's a fund for local issues, and that's around groups, so that is also a way that you can find out more about the
quick pieces of, a few announcements to make. One, that this event was put together by the Windham County Democrats, and you could join us. We have monthly meetings, we get stuff done sometimes, and it's a really important place to both hold our elected leaders accountable and to be part of the conversation. It's a really great bridge between the party and the people. So please, sign up, get involved, follow us on Facebook, whatever you want to do. I want to thank Betty Fry for having the amazing brainchild of this event. And there were so many people on the organizing committee that I am not going to list them until midnight, when they will forgive me for not remembering all of them. Our incredible treasurer, Beth Pierce, really wanted to be here tonight. She has an incredible, great affection for Windham County Dems, and we really do love her back. She had to be at a youth financial literacy event, and one of her missions in her work is to work hard to ensure financial security for all Vermonters. She knows it's hard for Vermonters to be fully engaged in the democratic process when they don't have financial security. And this is so important. We ask people to step up and to participate, to show up for all of these events. But when you're not making a living wage and you're working 3 jobs and you're taking care of your kids, it's really, really hard to show up for anything but those daily needs. So if we want this community to thrive, if we want the state to thrive, if we want this country to thrive, we need to turn that ship around. And we need to get living wages. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Danika Roem, who, at least for me, was such an incredible bright spot in like some of the darkest of times. And felt like, for me at least, the beginning of the next wave of turning this country around and of really getting gritty and talking about what matters every day. Thank you for being here tonight.
What's up, Windham County? Y'all, it is Friday night in the not-so-big city. I said, how y'all doing tonight? Alright, so my name is Danika Roem, and I am loud to represent the people of the city of Manassas Park and the Prince William County portions of Haymarket, Gainesville, and my lifelong home Manassas in the Virginia House of Delegates. Bring the Southern girl to Vermont in October, they said. It'll be delightful. You'll love it. They're so similar, they are. No. But the reason I am here is to help elect Christine HALLQUIST. Yeah. That was why I was in that other place that it's apparently not Vermont called Burlington. In primary. I loved it. I thought it was great. But apparently that's the thing here. I'm learning. It's cool. But here's the thing, like, I was working for her. It's like, yeah, she's trans. That's so cool, right? And I don't care if you don't have a lot of really good ideas, if you're not really super well qualified for office, and you can just, if you can't walk out on infrastructure, I am not going to give you the time of day. She gets to do all that. That's her thing. And she's what she's really, really, really good at. And what I loved about what I saw in her campaign as soon as she was off the ground was that she was focusing on those core quality of life issues that no matter what state in the union you're in, that they matter when you were delivering for constituent service. When you were talking about infrastructure, for example. I want a candidate who can bore me to death on infrastructure. Yeah. And I want to be the candidate too. And, all right, well I'm the delegate now, but whatever. But this is someone here who said, you know, what we've got to focus on is extending broadband. increasing internet access to rural Vermont. And what happens when you do that? You develop that rural economy, and then in places where more urban areas like Brattleboro or like Burlington, you can actually start to shift some of the tax burden off of the residents, right? Because then you're shifting it into the rural area, and you have a more equitable distribution of this in the first place. That's the sort of stuff that most people, and I was a reporter for 10.5 years, and a lot of reporters will just kind of tune out when you say that because a lot of the public tunes out. Don't just blame the media on this. But instead, that's the boring stuff that your taxpayer dollars are supposed to be going to your public servants to fix in the first place. That's the very, very sort of stuff they are signing up to do. They're not signing up to create scandals. They're not signing up to divide people. Us versus them. They aren't signing up to stigmatize, single out, and attack the very people they're elected to serve. No. When you have actual public servants, actual civil servants who are in office, what do? You're my constituent, and how can I help you? That my constituents give me my best ideas. And that's the sort of listener that Christine's demonstrated herself to be, both when she was CEO of the largest rural co-op in all of Vermont, correct? Yeah, you got that right. And if I remember off the top of my head, what was it, 96% of all the energy in that co-op was renewable? Carbon-free. Carbon-free, carbon-free. If you're trying to get to that 100% renewables for all, if you're trying to get to those environmental sustainability goals that are also really good for your economy, she is uniquely well qualified to deliver on this. Absolutely. The reason for that is because she has the track record of success where she can actually say, these are things that I did. And it's like, well, how can you even, get all the additional internet, expansion out into rural Vermont? You're like, well, we got electricity out there, didn't we? We apparently have a freaking network that we can work with. So why don't we use it? And if you actually prioritize that sort of stuff instead of getting into fights with your constituents, mainly teachers, then what happens? What happens? You succeed. And you succeed because of who you are, not despite it, and not for what discriminatory politicians tell you you're supposed to be. And if I can stress anything out, as I see my buddy Sean Maloy from the Victory Fund here. What's up, Bob? So Christine and I, we are both Emerge America sisters, and we're both Victory Fund endorsees. And when Victory Fund endorses a candidate, they aren't just looking for, hey, can you raise a lot of money? They are looking for the full everything that comes into the platform here. Includes how well do you know the public policy issues in your district, for example? How well do you understand the people who you're working to serve? How well have you demonstrated that core competency to be able to do the job right? And on top of all of that, will you be a champion for equality? Will you be a champion for inclusivity? Will you be a champion for equity? And will you be a champion above all for your constituents? She's demonstrated it. Look how she's ran a campaign this year. Just look at the friendship that she's got with Brenda this year. If that should tell you anything, when you run in a primary with someone and then you become super close to them during the primary when you're competing for the same job to the point where you're asking me to take photographs with both of y'all, like Vermont's weird. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. And maybe not having universal internet access keeps it so nice. maybe that is a thing. Oh man! Oh, did you see a tomato? That was no, but for real though, you all have a level of friendliness and a level of respect and basic decorum here that could set an example for the rest of the country right now. And that's for real. That is absolutely for real. Because the person who I'm competing, when I was in my primary, right? We had 4 Democrats in my primary. Sounds familiar, right? Well, in my primary, I never said I'm running against these other 3 people. I said we're all applying for the same job. And I said in my primary, no matter who is the Democratic nominee, the day after the primary is over, I will go out and I will be knocking on doors for that Democratic nominee along Andrew Drive in Manassas Park. And I even gave the street, gave everything. I was fortunate enough to be knocking for myself. And then the then Governor, Terry McAuliffe, gives me a phone call. Hey, congratulations. I'm like, hey, Gov, it's really nice to hear from you, but I'm in between doors right now. Oh, that's what I want to hear. All right. He was just over the moon excited, right? And then we won by 8 points. So that's just kind of super cool. But I want to stress a few things to you all here about both the importance of winning here at the local level, because the better you perform at the top of the ticket, the better you're gonna perform all the way to your state house races. And you've got to win the state house races. You've got to clean it up. My understanding is there's a flippable seat somewhere around here, correct? I heard it ain't too far away. So just saying, that's a nice thing. And then, for the folks who are in the state house, like I'm in the state house in Virginia, you want to have that Democratic governor to make sure that your bills don't get vetoed. My understanding is there's a little veto problem in the state. Right. So, to bring it much more macro, though, about the national implications of this. Yes, when you elect Christine HALLQUIST and she's able to focus on those core quality of life issues, right? When she's able to deliver on that, that helps your community. And it tells a 15-year-old girl in Salem, Virginia, in southwestern Virginia, 4.5 hours away from where I live, that she can thrive as the little girl who she is because of who she is. Representation matters. Representation matters so much. Because if you look at people in government and you don't have anyone else who looks like you, who shares your background, who you can relate to their story, if that is absent to you, then where do you aspire to? Where are the dreams that you set forth saying, well, if they can do that, so can I? If that first person hasn't been there to do that, where do you find a playbook for it? This is how I can do this. You look at the trailblazers. You look at the people who are willing to sacrifice everything and throw everything aside because they knew that in doing so, they were creating they were expanding upon a power that each of us has individually within ourselves, so that we can succeed on our own terms, and we can do it because of who we are. And I think of that girl in Salem, that when I was standing in a library down there, I just knocked some doors for a couple of candidates there, and one of the girls, this girl comes up to me and she says, I've never seen another trans girl before. And I said, well, my name's Danika, you might know me. Hi, it's nice to meet you. We chatted back and forth, and it was clear she was autistic, and that's cool. I got a lot of autistic people who I love in my life. But some of the questions might have seemed kind of invasive, coming from anyone else, but from her, all right, no problem. But she says at the end, she goes, can you be my mentor? I'm like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. I live 200 miles away. I live 4.5 hours away. There's not a lot I can do. I can't be that everyday presence in your life. But I know some people down here who can, because I spoke at a trans empowerment group called the Ladies and Gents of the Blue Ridge a few months ago. Let me put you in touch with them, because when you can help out the people in your own community, when you can help your community thrive, when you can set the example for the next generation in your own community, then that person will be delivered for the generation after them, and they will also deliver for you, because you're never too old to learn and you're never too young to teach. And I hope, if anything, and by the way, if your Democratic primary proved anything this year, it is that you're never too young to teach, right? And that's a good thing. It is a very, very, very good thing. And so, when I think of that, I think of, what was it that we did? What was it that we did to get to the point where we can actually have candidates who are elected in the first place to set that good example, where we have that power? It's because of you. This is the group here. This is the group where, if you show of hands, who here has knocked on doors this year? Who here has made phone calls this year? Sent out postcards? Done anything to encourage people to vote? Already gone out to vote? And is going to make sure that we bring a whole lot more people out to vote? This is going to be that room? This is not the crowd that was lost to apathy after 2016. This is not the crowd. You are the folks who are actually dedicated to making this happen. And I'm going to turn it over to Christine here in just a quick second, but I want you guys to know I know. I got the feel. I came up from frickin' Virginia. You're coming up with it. You'll wait. I'm also the Bronx. I don't put up with anything. But bottom line, like, every vote matters. The Virginia House of Delegates majority came down to a single vote in Newport News this past year. It was a tied race for the 50-50 split, and we lost it in a fishbowl drawing. Every single vote counts. Every single vote counts. And now, in order to get those votes, y'all gotta pony up too, all right? Who here can make some donations to Christine HALLQUIST campaign tonight? Who here can make them by the end of the campaign? She needs your help. Financial help. Make it happen, because that's how she gets her message out. And that is how collectively you win. And that's how she shows the world this is what Vermont's values are all about. Of inclusivity, of equality, of equity, and of women. Christine HALLQUIST, and Michael Gannon.
Thank you so much, Sara. And I am so proud and honored to stand before you tonight as the Democratic candidate for governor. Yeah. You know, I think about me standing here years ago. It wasn't even. It couldn't even. It's inconceivable. But I call it a miracle. But at the same time, I recognize I'm standing on the shoulders of many people before me who fought for what was right and what was just. People like Danika, people like you. You're out here tonight because you want to fight for what is right and what is just. Now, my passion in life was to solve, and is to solve, climate change. In 2004, I went up to Quebec City to listen to the Intergovernmental Climate Change Commission's first report on what carbon was going to do to our planet. And I knew the electric grid would be key to solving that problem. I became CEO of Vermont Electric Co-op in 2005. At that time, the co-op was on the edge of bankruptcy. Had the highest electric rates in the state and the highest number of outages. I pulled the employees together and I said, look, I have a lot of business experience, but I only give myself about a 10% chance of turning this around. But I also know something really important. When we pull together, we can get amazing things done. And I said to those employees, from this day on, we all abide by the union contract, including myself. So whatever raise you get, I get. 5 years later, I was invited down to the Department of Energy. I met with all the heads of the Department of Energy, and they told us we were the most innovative utility in the nation. We cut our outages by more than half, and we became an A+ rated utility by the rating agencies, which most people finance people would tell you was impossible for the size of our company. But nothing is impossible when we pull together. When I left in March of this year, we were 96% carbon free. We were offering incentives for people to move away from fossil fuel heating, cooling, and transportation, and we did that without a rate increase for 5 years. Essentially proving you can solve climate change, and it does not need to cost more money. Now, I figured I'd be going to my grave with that goal. Pretty noble goal, probably would carry me to my grave. But on November 9th, 2016 changed everything for me. Anybody remember what happened that day? Boo, boo. So I went into political depression. And the next year I started the march. I went down to Washington, I marched with the Women's March, I marched in the Climate March, I marched in Vermont. But in 2017, I was in denial. By the way, there's a movie about my denial. Go to denialdocumentary.com and watch it. And I was in denial because I know Vermont's a loving state. We will be protected from these headwinds from Washington. But in late 2017, we started to see white supremacist activity in Vermont. We hadn't seen that since the early 80s. And on January 20th of this year, 2018, I was in the Youth March down in Montpelier, And I listened to these 4 young women, high school seniors. They call themselves Muslim Girls Making Change. They were, They were doing slam poetry on what it's like to live in Vermont and the harassment they face in their schools and their community. That harassment every day. The kind of harassment that Kaya Morris faced here. And I cried. And that's when I made the irrational decision to run for governor. Now, when I look at Governor Scott and what he's done and what's his role in this, well, he said he was gonna make Vermont more affordable. And he vetoed a bill to raise the minimum wage. He vetoed a bill that would have given family leave. He vetoed a bill that would have protected children from toxic toys. And he vetoed a bill that would have made polluters pay, to name a few. So when he talks about affordability, it's clear who he's talking about. It's certainly not those people on the lowest part of the income ladder. And what I realized is our governor is using the same tactics of the national GOP. Focusing on division. So here's what we will do for Vermont. We will connect every home and business with fiber optic cable. So Vermonters can be connected to the internet at the same speed as the cities. And we're going to rebuild the downtowns using the tax increment financing model. That same one that rebuilt White River Junction, same one that rebuilt St. Albans, same one that's being used for Bennington, for the Putnam Block, Springfield. And think about this beautiful vision of Vermont. You know, we are the healthiest state in the Union. We're the safest state in the Union. We have the highest education performance. We have pretty awesome outdoor recreation, and we have pretty awesome people. That is a formula for an incredibly successful rural economy. So, focusing on rural economic development, and we're going to measure that economic development by how it benefits the bottom 20% on the income ladder. Yeah. I say, who the hell cares how good our economy is doing if it's not benefiting the people that need it the most? You know, we've heard this rhetoric since Ronald Reagan. And by now, people should have figured it out. You know, and you know, we've heard this rhetoric every time I turn on the news. I hear about all these jobs are created. Yet the working class, the bottom 80% this year, has not seen any wage growth. So we have to change the pendulum here and get and start focusing on how we can bring up those people on the lowest part of the income ladder. And we're going to move to Medicare for all. In the United States, we spend 18 cents of every gross domestic product dollar on health care. European countries spend 8 and 9 cents and everybody gets covered. We in Vermont spend 31 cents of every health care dollar on administrative costs. Medicare is 5 cents. Clearly, there's a better answer, and we should not be making money off and profiting off of people death and dying. Now, you know, the critics say, oh yeah, Vermont tried that. Yeah, we did try it. It doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. You know, if we gave up on the first filament of the light bulb, we'd be sitting in the dark right now.
Woo! Go Christine!
And I intend to form a union of other states to make this happen, and have already started those discussions. We're also going to ensure every child receives a quality public education. And closing rural schools is the absolute wrong thing to do. Because if we close those schools, we're going to make our economic situation worse. Because who's going to move into a community that doesn't have a school? And besides, go back to goal number 1.
we're going to grow the economy and put them back in those schools. And then finally, we're going to solve climate change because we can.
Yes.
And let me tie that back to goal number 1. Vermont, we export $2 billion a year to the fossil fuel industry. We keep that money in state, we're going to grow jobs, and we're going to accelerate innovation. I loved my job as CEO of Vermont Electric Co-op because we were doing some incredibly innovative things. And we had very emotionally charged employees, and we were hiring some of the best engineers in the country to come and solve climate change. So we're going to solve climate change. We're going to solve climate change, number 1, because it's good for the planet. Number 2, because it's good for our economy. Number 3, because it's fun. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, my father always raised me. One of the things he always said to me was, "Can't, never did."
That's right.
So, and I'm going to tell you also that this isn't the hardest thing I've ever done, running for office.
You go, girl.
And I am not going to cower in front of the headwinds from Washington. I'm going to fight hard to represent this state and protect us from all the stuff coming out of Washington. And we're going to use that union of other states to protect us and protect our immigrants and protect our migrants. And I'm going to fight hard for the Vermont I love and the Vermont that has loved me in return. And I know nothing is impossible when you're on the side of justice. And let me add one more promise. I'm making this promise since the Kavanaugh hearings. I've added one more promise. And that is, I plan on making Donald Trump feel very uncomfortable. Thank you so much for doing everything you're doing. And of course, I know all of you are going to get out and vote. But make sure you drag everybody else you can out to vote. Because we get people out to vote, we're going to win and we're going to change the world. Yeah, 2018, I'm going to tell I know, I'm such an optimist. I'm going to be talking to my children's children, and I'm going to tell them, 2018 was the year we made history. That's the year our democracy survived a despot, because we rose up.
Everyone, please stay, mingle, talk to the candidates. We're going to have a few more speakers and a few more minutes.
I'm just getting my glass of wine.
That'll be just a few more minutes, so stay tuned.
Good evening. It is such an exciting thing. Earlier today, we were rushing around, grabbing signs, trying to get the details in order about how this was all going to go. You never know who's going to show up. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for democracy. Thank you for being here for all of the elected officials that work on your behalf. Now, what I want to talk to you about is not a pleasant topic, but it's one that we need to address. And we need to address it with honesty and candor, and that is the issue of racial justice here in Vermont. Now, I was glad that I got to speak after Christine HALLQUIST because she talked about the experience of Kaya Morris, and that's what I'm going to talk about in my time tonight. Kaya and I, those of you who don't know who Kaya Morris is, she was a representative from Bennington. She and I were in the same Emerge class together. Yes, exactly. The first inaugural class. And I'll never forget that one of the things that Kaya talked about with all of us was how she worried that the same few people always showed up for everything. It was always the same people who volunteered, the same people that ponied up a little bit of money, the same small crew that was trying to do this democracy thing. And I was thinking about her tonight, and how if she were here tonight, she would say, we all have to be all in all the time, because lives depend on it. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, so Kaya was elected in Bennington, and almost from the moment that she took office, she had to deal with supremacists, white supremacists in Bennington, racial harassment, her family, she has a husband and a young son, had to endure so much garbage just because she wanted to represent her community. And it got to the point this past summer when she decided it was too much. It was taking too much of a toll on her to be a politician, and that she needed to put her family first. And of course, we all, the Windham delegation, we all supported her in that decision that she needed to take care of herself first and foremost. But I can't tell you that we're not full of rage, frustration, and deep, deep sorrow. Kaya is a very talented politician, community organizer, activist, and I know that she will be back. But one of the things that worries me so much is I hear it today in our rhetoric about Vermont. We say, we're better than that. We're better than that. Well, in this instance, we were not better than that. We were not better, and we need to be better. So we need to change that narrative. The first time that I moved to Vermont, I had dikes stretched into the side of my car, just up the road in Putney. It was not a great welcome to this county or this state. But I stuck it out, and I love it here. And I believe change is possible because of these gatherings. Because we can come together and we can talk about homophobia and transphobia. We can talk about how important racial justice is. And we're here doing the work across class, across gender, across generational divides. Because that's the work that needs to be done. And in order to do that, we have to listen so deeply. We need to talk less and listen more. And that's what I'm going to lead on, because that was what Kaya would say too. She will still have a voice in this state, and I hope she will run for office again. And I hope when she does, that you will work on her behalf. But in the meantime, we have the work we need to do right now. Please stop saying we're better than that, and make us better than that. Thank you. So Representative Matt Schreiber has come down from Bellows Falls. It doesn't happen often. Look at Matt Schreiber saying.
From Rockingham, it's wherever you are. It's always very difficult to follow Becca, and impossible after that, so thank you for that reminder. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Matt Schreiber. I'm running for my 5th term in the Vermont House. I serve on the Appropriations Committee and worked on the 2 budgets that were almost unanimously supported and then vetoed. So that was a lot of good work. But we've talked a lot tonight about the importance of voting, and I think we've talked a little bit about how these elections are local, and that's almost what scares me, because I'm a member of the Democratic Party, and you don't have to look much further than the election of 2016 to know that we're the party that can easily trip over our own feet while walking. We cannot just take for granted that these elections are going to turn out the way we want them to. And we have to look past the local nature of the ballot in this case. Realistically, I believe that out of everyone that you've heard talking here tonight on the local level, there's only one person who's actually in a competitive race. But we can't get complacent just because our local reps aren't being challenged. In order for everyone to win up and down the ballot, we have to make sure that we get out and vote, and that we take people out to vote like everyone else said. We cannot allow complacency of the lack of interesting races on a local level to get involved in that. So I hope to see you all out voting, and thanks.
Next up, Representative Molly Burke from
Molly is my rep.
And she is my senator. Hi, thank you so much for tonight. This is a great gathering. And I just want to say it is such a privilege to be part of the Windham County delegation. We have an amazing group of people. We had a meeting the other day about criminal justice reform, and everybody is just talking on the same page. It's really special, very, very special. And I rely so much on my colleagues. I want to say I've been so privileged to be representing District 2 in Brattleboro for 10 years, and I've been on the Transportation Committee the whole time. And one of my main concerns entering the legislature was been, and I'm very pleased to hear Christine talk about climate change, how do we cut emissions from fossil fuels? And I'm so excited that there is a study now, it's going to come out on January 15th, that's going to look at, that is looking at the impact, the economic impact of how we could impose a carbon pricing in order to, we want to protect low-income people, but we need to begin this conversation about we've got to get off fossil fuels. We all know there was the IPCC report that just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's not a Democratic, Republican, independent, progressive. It's an all-in, all people are affected by this. And we need to work really hard to make sure that it's not a partisan issue and that we can all get on board and create a much better future. I want to give a shout out to my constituents, Daniel Quip and Abby Manukin, 350.org, who are doing amazing work locally, and that's what we need. We need the energy from the outside, we need people on the inside, we need all kinds of voices in order to move this forward. So that's just one of the issues I'm concerned about. There's so many others, and thank you so much for being here and for the people who organize this.
Thank you. Next up, we have our incredible, long-standing, has made an enemy of everyone, and is loved by many. And I'm sorry I stole your joke, because it is my favorite. Senator White, thank you.
Yes, but the joke was that when I first was elected, I hadn't done anything, so nobody was angry at me. But now I've done so many things that at least, I bet every single one of you in this room are angry at me about something that I've done in the past, or haven't done. So what I want to say is that when Republicans get angry, they get out and vote. And when Democrats get angry, they go home and sulk. And we cannot do that anymore. We can't go home and sulk. This is really important. I'm going to just, Jim Condos talked about elections and how important they are. And that's what I want to do. I'm going to actually do what Becca said, talk less. So I'm going to talk less. But what I want to do is say that we need to get people registered to vote, and then we need to make sure they get out and vote. I sit on the Government Operations Committee, and this is one of the primary things that we do, because we can solve all the problems. We could have a great healthcare system. We could figure out climate change. But if we don't have a vibrant democracy, then, well, climate change will help. But if we don't have a vibrant democracy, having a really good healthcare system is good, but we need the democracy. So I'm just going to tell you one anecdote about how important it is to vote. A couple of years ago, I was sitting at JD's in Putney having dinner, and I had my petition laying on the table. And people were coming over and signing the petition, and these two guys were sitting at the table next to me, and they said, "Can we sign your petition?" And I said, "Sure, if you're registered voters in Windham County." And they said, "Well, no, we work at Landmark." And I said, "Well, you can register to vote." And one guy took a form and started filling it out, and the other guy went, "You sat like that?" And I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "I can't register to vote." I said, "Why can't you?" He grew up in Hawaii in a family that he said was like the Hawaii mob. He had a felony conviction when he was 10 years old. He'd never, ever been able to vote. So I said, "Well, that isn't true in Vermont. You can register to vote." He's filled out the form, and he got up in the middle, and he went out, and I said to his friend, "Did I just offend him? What did I do?" And he said, "No, he's so choked up, he can't sit here." He came back in, he completed the form, he left again, he came back in, and he was in tears, and he said, "I just called my grandmother in Hawaii and said, I registered to vote. I'm a full citizen now." And that just moved me, because we take for granted that people are registered to vote. People that, I went up to Great River Terrace the other day and registered people. That's the place by Panda North, where it's supportive services for homeless people. And there were a whole bunch of people that came in and registered to vote. And most of them didn't think they could, because they were convicted felons. So we need to get out there, register people to vote, then make sure they get to the polls or they get their absentee ballot, because that is what is important this year. Thank you.
Are you ready? Okay.
Let's hear it.
I'm really excited about this. We have two mics, they're both live. I'm not one of the singers, though. Don't get too excited.
I've seen Mike dance. I don't like singing.
I just heard Mike's also a good dancer. Is that true?
Yeah, dancing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That might be the next event. Sorry I didn't do any pep time.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Thank you for coming out here today. Thank you for Emily and everyone else who pulled this together. I could, you've heard enough speeches today, and I'd like to be able to say what I want to talk about in a song, but I'm going to need some help. Sure. My name is Mike Berwicki. I live in Putney, and I serve the Windham 4th District of Putney, Dummerston, and Westminster, what we like to call the heart of the Southeast Kingdom of Vermont. We've talked a lot about what we're going to do
but I'd like to just talk a little bit about what inspires us. What are the values that we bring to our work? Justice, freedom, love, the freedom to love who you want. Pete Seeger made this song famous, and some other people after him, but it was about justice, freedom, and love. So if you could help me, come along and sing along. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out justice, I'd hammer out freedom, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out justice, I'd ring out freedom, I'd ring about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing about danger, I'd sing about warnings, I'd sing about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Now I got a hammer, and I got a bell, and I got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the song about love between the brothers and the sisters, all over this land. Song of freedom, it's the song of justice, it's the song about love between the brothers and the sisters, all over this land, all over this land, all over this land.
I used to sing that song with my parents, and then I sang it to my son as a bedtime song. So thank you, Mike. I told you that you're going to hear from people up and down the ticket tonight, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Peter Gould, who is going to, he's running for Justice of the Peace. Thank you. It is actually a competitive race this year. Amelia is also a Justice of the Peace. She's not going to be speaking tonight. Thank you, though, for running, Amelia. That is another competitive election that we have in Brattleboro this year. So thank you, Peter, for speaking tonight. You're on.
Hey, everybody, you can vote for Burke and Gould in 2018. So here's a letter which I wrote to the Reformer, because it was an idea that I had, and it just came out in the Reformer this morning. So I want you to just listen to the letter, and if you like the message, I can give you the link. I would hope that it gets spread around the country. Why you need to vote. It's come down to the last 2 weeks. The election and the future of our democracy hang in the balance. Oh, maybe you don't think so. Okay, even if you don't think so, here is why I believe you need to vote. If you are eligible and registered and are thinking of sitting this one out, think about this instead. Go out and do it for the people who can't. Be a hero for them. There are millions of Americans who want to vote, but they cannot. They've been suppressed. They've had the right to vote stripped away. They don't have a street address. They've moved to a different state. Their voter ID is not perfect. Their names have been deliberately stricken from the voting rolls for a dozen crazy reasons. They're in prison. Some of these people in prison are innocent or back in jail because they missed an appointment. Or they're out of prison, they pay their debt to society, but they're still not permitted to vote. They are people of color, and they've been intimidated with the fear of voting while black. Their own president frightens them into not voting. They've had their early voting privileges curtailed. Their neighborhood polling places shuttered. They finally found the courage to stand up and be counted, but registration in their state closed a month ago. So, if you can, then you have to be their voice. We happen to live in the state that has the fewest voting restrictions. 45 days of early voting, no voter ID. We can register up until Election Day. We can register on Election Day. Vermont wants all of its citizens to vote. A few other states are like us, only a few. If you're too young, get all the adults you know to cast their ballots. If you haven't registered, please go ahead and do it. If you're registered, but you can't come out on Election Day, go to the town clerk sometime in the next 2 weeks and do the job right then and there. Or call up and have a ballot sent to you. And if you've already voted, great. Spread this message to everyone you can think of. If you live in some other state, find out how you can vote. Every branch of the federal government today is ruled by people who want only a limited number of citizens and a limited kind of citizen to vote. We can't let that stand. It's up to you. For all the people who can't vote, you be a hero and vote.
Speaker. My name's Terry Anderson. I'm chair of the Vermont Democratic Party. I live in Franklin County. I can literally see Canada from my house. And it is great to come down to such an enthusiastic and a fantastic turnout here tonight in Brattleboro. Thank you everybody who put it on. Thank you for everybody for turning out. This is the kind of energy we're going to need in the next 10 days. There's so much I could be saying right now about what's going on in Vermont. I want to talk a little bit about why we know that this race for governor, the race for state legislative control, is a serious race. And it's not because of anything the Democrats are doing that we know that. It's because we know what the Republicans are doing. The Republican Governors Association has poured $600,000 into Vermont. They've polled twice and not released their poll results. If they were good numbers, they'd be out there trumpeting them. Tonight, we have a special guest here tonight. I don't know how many of you knew about this, but there was a tracker from the Republican Governors Association, a young man filming the entire event because they're worried and they want to have some material to try to use. But instead, Christine gave a great speech and they got nothing to lose. Nothing to use. But we know that they're taking this race seriously. We also know that on the legislative level, the National Republican Legislative Committee has just dumped $200,000 into the state. They're putting on ads on TV, attacking the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. They're going after the Lieutenant Governor with independent expenditures. Republicans are spending big to try to win here in Vermont. Some of you know that next door in Massachusetts there's a referendum to try to repeal the rights of transgender people. Question 3.
and it's a scary referendum, and I think we're going to win it. But one of the things we found out is that a woman named Carol Brewer, who's a major donor to the Vermont Republican Party, she and her husband have given so far this year more than $80,000 to the Vermont Republican Party. We just found out she gave $100,000 to that mean-spirited referendum. That's what we're up against. And so to fight that, we don't need to get angry, we don't need to lose control of ourselves, but we do need to be determined. We do need to know that we can have the energy and the ideas and the positivity to go out there and convince people to vote for fairness, for opportunity, for equality, for stewardship of our resources, and for democracy. Because that's what's really on the ballot this fall. Everywhere, in Vermont and across the country. We can lead. You know, we're one of the first states in the country whose polls close on election night. It will be so great if those people who still have the opportunity to go out and vote in California start hearing that, yeah, we upset the governor in Vermont. We made history. We can do that. We can take more seats in the House. We have phenomenal new candidates running. Diverse candidates in every end of the state. We have great new female candidates, young candidates, candidates of color. It is really a powerful thing that's happening. And we're going to have a lot of new blood and exciting new ideas in the legislature. And we're going to have increased Democratic majorities in both houses. But it's only going to happen if we all do our bit. There's 2 canvasses tomorrow. There's a canvas next weekend. There's opportunities to phone bank. There's opportunities to talk to your friends. Graham will happily sign you up if you haven't already. We need to do this. There's a lot riding on it. You know, we focus a lot on the national scene and Donald Trump. You know, and we're all excited about Beto winning in Texas and all that kind of stuff. But we got a job to do here at home. Vermont can lead. Vermont can be an example to the country. And so we start here. And that's part of a national movement. That's part of a national wave. We can be part of it. We can make it happen. We're going to make it happen. You all are going to make it happen. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing day in and day out. Take lawn signs, sign up for shifts to go do GOTV work and do door knocking and all the other stuff we need to do. You got the means, donate some money. I can tell you where to send it if you need to know. Everybody needs it. But it's an exciting year. We're going to win. Thank you.
Hey, Graham, put your hand up in the air. Put your clipboard in the air. Graham is the guy you sign up for if you want to help with get out the vote. Hey, Ann, put your hand in the air. Canvas tomorrow with Rights and Democracy tomorrow morning to talk to people who are not very likely to vote. Those are the people that Jeanette was talking about. That's about empowering new voters. Talk to Ann if you want to talk to those people that don't even think this stuff is for them. These are your opportunities to get involved. I don't know if I ever said this, I'm Emily Kornheiser. I'm running in Windham 2-1, that's Brattleboro's west, that's West Brattleboro. Thank you. Please stay, mingle. We have the space until 11. It's only 8:30. Thank you, Brattleboro, for the late night. And we also did not put together a cleaning crew, so if anyone wants to hang out and be helpful, that would be most lovely. I know you all always pitch in for that, so thank you. Your hands are needed even tonight, not just tomorrow. Have a great night. Thank you.
I'm proud to stand before you as a Democratic candidate for governor of Vermont. My passion in life was to solve climate change. I was the CEO of the second largest utility, Vermont Electric Cooperative. We were successful and we got 96% carbon free. And we offered incentives for people to move away from fossil fuel heating, cooling, and transportation. But the events of November 9, 2016 changed everything, which is why I'm running for governor, because I can't sit back and watch what's happening with our state and our country. And you should not sit back and watch either. So make sure you get out, get everybody to vote, make sure your vote, do not stop, because we can make history in 2018. I want to be talking to my children's children and say, 2018 was the year we made history. That's the year we survived the despot. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Roem. I'm the Virginia State Delegate for the 13th District of the Virginia House of Delegates, representing the people of Prince William County and Haymarket, Gainesville, and Manassas, as well as the city of Manassas Park. And I'm here today to help out my friend HALLQUIST, who's running for governor here in Vermont. He's a Democratic nominee. And this is a point of the campaign where, with less than 2 weeks to go, we know that when we vote, we win. And so I'm encouraging people to please come on out to vote. And in Christine's case, we're talking about someone who knows infrastructure and policy inside and out, who is dedicated to, taking, not just taking on climate change, but making sure that rural Vermont has access to high-speed internet that it absolutely needs. And at the same time, she's going to do it in an inclusive way so that no matter what you look like, where you come from, how you worship, what you do, or who you love, that you know that you can thrive here because of who you are, not despite it, and not for discriminatory people tell you you're supposed to be. So please come out to vote November 6th. My name is Danika. Let's go win.
My name is Brenda Churchill. I'm driving for Christine HALLQUIST. She's running for governor of Vermont. I'm also the outreach director for the campaign. During the off-season, I'm the LGBTQIA Alliance liaison to the State House. And I've been told by legislators that they like to cause trouble, and I indeed want to continue doing that. I'll tell you what, Christine said it best. She's going to make Donald Trump feel very uncomfortable. I'm going to make Donald Trump feel very uncomfortable right along with her. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Hi, I'm Nader Hashim. I'm running for state representative for Windham 4, which covers the towns of Putney, Goverston, and Westminster. And over this campaign season, I've seen a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and motivation. And the general election is right around the corner. We've got just a few days left. We need to see more and more people getting registered to vote, and not just registering, but getting people to the polls themselves. So if you have a car, if you have a friend who needs to vote, please help them out and get them to the polls. Thank you.
Well, Russ and BCTV, we couldn't have done it without you. Russ was fantastic, and wow, did we capture so many things. And it was a great event. It was everything we ever hoped it would be, and I hope you watch us and we get out the vote for all these different people that came up and asked for your vote. We've got lawn signs. We've got a couple more days to get going to get out that vote in Windham County, and thank you all.
Party.
Hey, we know it's hot.
It wasn't in the Greenland Chapter.
We had a party in the big tent.
Well,
under the big tent.
That's going to be ridiculous. You're going to edit that.
Are we still on? I'm rolling.
Thank you for organizing it.
I already talked.
I am so excited at how many people came tonight and listened and spoke.
I thought that the energy in the room was just really a long time. I really
What I liked was all the different people who came in from all the different towns to share ideas, to visit the different towns. Hey, we talked to our candidates. Virginia, Washington, D.C., Athens, Vermont.
I talked to people from Marlborough and Newfane and Townsend. And Rockingham, we had a representative from Rockingham. It was really fun, and I think it really was.
We'll do it again, okay?
And look at all